It's the Marc Clarke Morning Show. Healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Delicious beverage?
Duh.
And welcome to the Marc Clarke Morning Show. And thank you to all of the sponsors, partners out there. Shout out to Delicious Beverage. Of course, you go to Delicious Beverage, use my code MARC2020 and get 20% off for the world's most delicious tea and lemonade. Also, shout out to Royal Moss. Royal Moss, one of our partners early on. She's got an amazing product. I can't wait. My new shipment is coming in. And speaking of that, she actually sat down. See, what this show is about is bringing people together. And one of our regulars, one of my homeboys, one of my friends, Dave, the business bully Anderson.
All right.
And we'll just keep it. We ain't going to say everything that happened. But again, Dave, because he is a friend, is willing to, if you have a business, if you have something that you're doing and you need a great mind for some guidance, bring a checkbook. Dave is there. Dave is there for you, the business bully. If you don't know about him, go to businessbully.com, find out everything, and buy his book. Now, our guest today, Dave, is a brother that, just like you, I've known forever. He was in them streets in Baltimore. No, I don't mean it that way. I mean, he was out there marketing and promoting. You know, I remember when Frank was doing it on the little scale, all the way now where he's bow, you know, right up with Kevin Lyles and those guys. He's in that camp. But he's got a brand new book. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to share his story that is inspirational. And again, it's great when we see people that we've seen the journey. We've seen the ups, we've seen the downs, we've seen the good, and we've seen the bad. Without any further ado, come on, Frank Johnson is in the building. What's up, Frank, my brother? How are you, sir? Hello, sir.
Unmute yourself, Frank.
Your mic's off. Your mic's off. And the funny thing is,
that's rule 101. Are we live? Can you hear me?
Sir. And here's the thing that's beautiful about it. Frank is not only a former radio guy. Frank hopped on this streaming radio thing years ago. I worked for Frank Johnson back in the day when it first came. He was an early believer, put up his own money, had his own studio. And even now, look at him, Dave. He got lights and stuff. He's that person that's got leftover stuff, you know, some lights, some cameras in the back room, some speakers.
Hilarious.
Frank has been through all those changes, Dave, from when it was a band, when people had bands. Frank had speakers and instruments. When people were DJs, Frank was out there with records. And
Records
awesome,
and crates.
man.
No, I actually was carrying DJ's records.
There we go. And then and so again, and now, but again, that's the but won't God do it? Frank knows.
Say
when
that
you work
one more
with Frank,
time.
you can't really get over because he did it all. He was
That's
carrying them records. He was setting things up. You can't really get over on Frank because something about Frank Johnson that people love him or hate him. He is a hard worker.
He said, "Love or hate him." Wow.
Love him or hate him, because Frank.
What are you really saying, Mark?
No, but Frank, again, ain't nobody really gonna outwork Frank Johnson. Ain't nobody really gonna outwork Dave. I mean, this is the thing that when you look and you get older and you look back at it, and that was the secret weapon. You guys always can activate that. You knew that when you hopped into a new venture, you hopped into whatever. The one thing that ain't gonna happen is you're gonna get caught sleeping. So, Frank, your book, which is appropriately titled "Ambitious."
Mark, you look amazing, by the way.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. And my brother Dave is also on the journey. He's on the journey. He's down 100. I'm down 100. But
I'm up about 10 pounds, but we'll talk about that later.
You can have mine.
Your book, Ambitious, is perfect because for those who know you,
Did I send it to you?
No, I'll buy it, brother. I'm gonna buy it.
Oh no, please just send me that. You see that shelf full of books back there?
He's like, I gotta move these kits.
Yeah, send me your address and I'll send you a copy of it. My apologies.
Frank, this it's a perfect title because it really is you, dude. So tell us about, first of all, though, before we get into the book, let's get into the Frank Johnson story. I know you, Dave just met you, the world. Tell us the story, man. Tell us the story of this young man in the streets of Baltimore.
Wow. Ooh, that's a long story. So the funniest thing about my book is as I sit back and read it, I realize how much stuff I left out of the book because it's just way too much to cover in my lifespan. I mean, I started, in West Baltimore on Loretta Avenue Street, raised by a single mom who raised 5 kids, struggled her whole life, sacrificed an incredibly amount of her life to dedicate to, making sure her kids needed for nothing. And just looking at my mother, man, and just trying to be an example of what my mother stood for. I just became ambitious, and that word, that title of the book, really today, just now, just made me realize that that title was a resemblance of my mother. And, just in my childhood, man, like every other kid in school, playing a fool and acting up and just having fun. I started out breakdancing. And I joined one of the breakdance. You remember the breakdance crews in the days. I'm not sure if you guys are older than me. I'm 55 years old. But we used to wear the hoodies with our names and it, West Side Crew and blah, blah, blah. You remember, anybody remember those days?
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you, brother. I'm 55, 50.
Okay,
Dave's a kid.
Right
He's
here,
a kid. He's rich, but he's a kid. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
But yeah, so, I started off breakdancing, and then, one of my younger brothers, he was inspired by the group Run DMC, and the kids who may look at this probably be like, who the hell is Run DMC? But Run DMC was one of the hip hop artists act that put rap on the mainstream level, MTV level, worldwide, international level for rap music. So we need to pay homage and pay it forward to them. But my brother was inspired by the group and wanted to become Run DMC, but he couldn't do it by himself. So he came to me one day and decided he wanted to start a rap group. He ended up fading to not doing it anymore, and doing his thing, whatever that was in his life. I just continued doing, and I just continued to rock out, and one thing led to another. Kevin Lyles, great guy, on-air radio personality here by the name of Randy Dennis, and Virgil Sims, one of the big entertainment promoters, promoted a lot of concerts and so forth. But they ended up placing a bet against each other, who group would be more successful. And Lord behold, Kevin Lyles is more successful than any of us, but it's all right. Listen, talk about irony of it all. But the funniest thing is we all were, the 3 groups were Crush Groove, which was my group, Kevin Lyles, which was the New Marks, and Terry T, which is was the We Rock crew. Mac James took Terry T. Kevin, let's see, who took New Marks? I think Randy Dennis took the New Marks, and Virgil took us, Crush Groove. But Lord behold, to this day, Kevin Liles is one of the biggest names in entertainment, if not the biggest name as an executive in the entertainment business.
Yes.
But through those years, I kind of just watched him at a glance and continued doing what I do. And my aspirations was always to be as big as Kevin was in the music and the entertainment business. So I just continued doing, I ended up working at retail stores as a buyer with people like Sean C's, great names like Sean Caesar, who runs DTLR. Can I say DTLR? Is that cool?
Of course, man.
DTLR
Hey, man,
fashion,
you say
lifestyle
it, and we'll call Sean and try to get some money on this show.
Exactly.
Partner.
Can you get me a check too? But yeah, so one thing led to another, man, and a good friend of mine by the name of Chris Thomas eventually saw my works and called me. He was running a record label by the name of Raucous Records, which has Mos Def, Talib Kweli, and a lot of the infamous true hip hop artists. And ultimately, one thing led to another. I began to do street team work, as you know it. And I think that was around the time we kind of fell into play. I started working for guys like Diddy, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy at the name was his name at the time was his name. And it just led to another. And eventually I just really kept my aggressiveness and my foot on the pedal. And I ultimately became an executive. Kevin called me one day, actually someone from Def Jam called me one day and said, a good friend of yours said we should call you. And, that was my second executive job in the entertainment industry and what would be the stage for who I am now. And right now, I'm just excited about, being a consultant. I stepped away from the executive side at the label side for a minute. And I wanted to kind of just venture and get to my family and become closer to my family. That didn't work out so well, but listen.
Hey, but
today,
now you know.
Hey,
today,
this is the honesty place, man.
Today, hey, listen, I'm real. I'm hard to, listen, we make mistakes. We grow from our mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. And, one mistake I'm proud to say I'm fixing today, Mark, is, my relationship with my beautiful two daughters. I went through this whole marriage crisis thing where, I think it was more of a identity thing for me. I finally figured out how to blow the screen up, so I feel good. And I feel like I'm at MTV right now or somewhere, NBC network or something.
Welcome. You are welcome. Welcome.
But I finally grew up, and I'm fixing my relationship with my two beautiful daughters. One who's Autumn, who's in New York going to school, and Zaire, who's amazingly doing well at Bowie State College, her third year, 3.5 GPA, Dean's List. Incredible, amazing, beautiful daughters. And at 55, I have two more kids, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, but don't tell any.
You were right there, bro.
See, I'm pulling my hair.
Literally, didn't we almost have it all with a person?
I was almost clear. But you know what? The interesting thing is, Bully. What Bully? Is that your real name, Bully?
No, my real name's Dave, but everybody just calls me Dave.
Dave. Well, if you don't mind, I'll call you Dave too.
Feel free.
But the interesting thing about having sons, the difference between sons and daughters are usually a little more subtle. My sons are active and live. And, I'm just excited about that because it keeps me young and keeps me feeling good and keeps me feeling strong. And other than that, for the last 10 years, Mark, I've been trying to write this book. And people have been telling me, you need to write a book because, people are inspired by you. When you talk, I do a lot of clubhouse rooms and just speaking. I love to speak to people. And, people say you should do a book because there's people who don't have access to you across the world that would love to be able to just learn from you and learn from, your struggles and your stripes in the entertainment business. And it's amazing. If you read the book, I tell you, my mother, before I put this book out, I had an editor, Mike Gonzalez. He's a bestseller author. The book Bring the Noise. He actually went through the book, and sorry, Mike, I'm about to shame you a little bit, but he went through the book and he did his proofreading. He's not an editor, but that's what he did for me because he's an amazing writer, very intelligent guy. So he went through the book and edited it for me. Before I would put this book out, I wanted my mother to read it. My mother called me and said, two things to me. First, she says, Tukey, which is my nickname. I'm putting myself on blast. Tukey, I started reading your book. She said, I'm on like the 3rd chapter. This was the day I gave it to her. My I never knew she was an influent reader because I hate reading. I'm not a big reader. Matter of fact, I haven't even read my book yet. She said, there's a lot of things in that book that I didn't know about you. I didn't know you was locked up before. I said, Ma, I wasn't really locked up. I was detained for a day, and they let me out on my own recognizance the second day. But it was, again, when you read the book, you'll understand that story. All right. And she said, I didn't know that you was almost murdered in New York at a recording studio. She says a lot of things I learned from you in that book. You know, growing up, again, my mother was stead focused on making sure we had a meal, making sure every Christmas we had gifts, and she really sacrificed her life. And it shows me a lot of appreciation for mothers out there, especially African-American mothers. You know, till today, I hold my father accountable for, you know, just a lot of that struggle. And I never knew my father. He was never around when we were a kid. Matter of fact, I think he died at a younger age, but I couldn't tell you what he looks like. And it's sad. And then to this day, I want to do something to try to figure out his side of the family, because I want to get to know him indirectly through his family. But, you know, I put the book out, and, you know, right now I'm just really trying to drive the book and push the book so that, you know, hopefully people can learn from my story. And one of the unique things I did in the book is after every chapter, there is a aha moment for you to reflect and be able to write and try to associate some of the things you read in the book with your life to see how maybe perhaps you could, you know, make some change, because I think we all learn through other people's lives. Mark, I look at you working out every morning, and I swear to you, bro, I pray to God that he allows me to humble myself and focus enough to be able to just get up in the morning and really work out, because, you know, I got a little stomach on. That's why I put my black shirt on. And I just want to get rid of it. I feel great. I mean, to be 55, bro. All the ladies out there paying attention right now.
Here it comes, ladies.
What's your old ass? What's going on?
I mean, at 55, you know, you ain't gonna find nothing like me. So I'm joking. But
See, that's what happens when you get out here, you get single, you got a book to promote. He letting y'all know, listen, ladies, yeah, let me tell y'all something about Tukey. What y'all know about Tukey?
Hey, listen, I don't know about either one of you, but, you know, look back on all of your friends and see how many are still around. You know, look at what they're doing, and not to, you know, look up or down at anybody, but, you know, we have to pat ourselves on the back when we're just good doers, as Russell Simmons told me on several occasions. Be a good doer. You know, it's easy to receive. It's easy to take. You know, it's a blessing to yourself as well as others when you can pay it forward. And for me, that's what it's always been about for me, and that's what the book is about for me. It's about paying it forward.
So Frank, it's so funny. I think, again, we all are in Dave, you were on last week, the first week, and this is the continuation. The thing that I'm tripping on is how we are all connected now. And it's funny because even connections that, you know, there's some that I know, but then connections that I don't know, I'm definitely number one in the space of these things don't happen by accident, right? These connections, I was just thinking, Frank, about our life, you know, like you were a part of my life. I mean, Baltimore probably was one of the biggest moments in my life, and all those connections. And I was Frank, I couldn't help think about the late Reggie Reg. I couldn't help think about K Swift, those who you love.
So sad the way he passed away, man. I just encourage all artists and independent influencers and creators, go get yourself some life insurance. Go get yourself some life insurance. Save your family some stress and struggle. But it was so sad the way not sad, it was so unfortunate the way he passed. And really, as much as Reg did for so many people, bro, he did for so many people. He's responsible for so many careers. You would have thought that he should have retired a better person. And amazing guy. I mean, this guy, to be honest with you, single-handedly is one of the major reasons I got to the level as an executive in the music business that I did. Reg would support you unconditionally, no question. Well, I'm gonna say no questions asked. Reg was Reg. But
well, you know, it's human.
I was in love, though. It was in love. It was the hustle. It was the hustle of the days. But just like we were hustling records, he was, Reggie Reg trying to, climb the ladder as well himself. So, he did a lot of amazing.
And also K Swift. I was thinking the loss of K Swift, similar, like you said, tragic figure. You super young and so much ahead of her and had done so much already. In your story, I thought about Virgil Sims. So I got my first record rep jacket from Virgil Sims. So the part that's so crazy, Dave, is I'm 21 years old. I meet Virgil Sims when he's working at Sleeping Bag Records, and it's my first programming gig. I'm 21 years old, and then years later, boom, I'm in Baltimore, and everybody knows Virgil Sims. I'm like, wait a minute, you mean the Virgil Sims? And so these connections, these connections that we all have, Dave, our connections the same one. I'm, watching Dave from a distance, didn't know he was watching me from a distance. And then Frank, we talked about this. I think, Dave, you were on with us when we had this conversation. When you had degrees of success, which we all have, but we also have friends who have millions, if not billions, and managing that, being inspired by that, and also not focusing on that because you can't count another man's money or another woman's money. You know what I mean? That's not what it's about. Frank, I've seen you in the mix. I've seen you grinding on the next new thing and having success, letting that go, hopping on something different. And so again, I love the ambitious title. So Frank, and also I just want to say, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. When you're honest,
you're not rambling.
When you started this with honesty, you set the table, Frank, because I'm going to keep it real. And Dave, you can hop in too. When Frank, you went through your changes, the whispers of friends and people around were probably like, what's his brother doing? You know what I mean? Like, is he okay? As far as the decisions you made on family and this and that. And that's what we do. We all do that, right? From my weight loss.
You can be forward and direct. You don't have to sugarcoat it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I love the fact that you said that, because so many black men, first of all, and that's what I think also, Dave, was happening with the show so far, is people have just been straight up honest. So many times black men especially,
we want to come on here in front.
Right. We're fronting. We're talking about what we got.
Very clear.
We don't start with you.
Let me be very clear with you.
Mm-hmm.
When I stepped away from Atlantic Records as an executive and I came back to Baltimore, because I wanted to fix some family issues that I had created. I made that decision to walk away from a 6-figure salary. I was blessed enough when I came back that my mentor and friend Kevin and partners at Atlantic Records gave me a 5-year deal to continue working in Baltimore, doing my 6 figures. And it's interesting that you said that, Mark, because it's true. We, in all of our glory and all of the great times and the highs that we experience in life, money, things like that, when we have it, we don't pay attention to how we could be better people. And I look back and I reflect today. I'm just grateful, man, that God, and I'm a spiritual person. So I hope I'm not offending anybody out there. Assalamu alaikum to all my Muslim brothers out there. But I thank God, shalom out there to all my Jewish people. I just thank God that he continues to show me my greatness and show me that only thing is stopping me from being anything that I want to be is me. One thing I've known in my life, and this is my testimony, and I tell this to people, and this is a part of the reason I wrote the book. I've been through so many scenarios in life. I've been a 6-figure executive. I've came back to Baltimore. I've let off, supported the mayor's office and their community support programs like the Youth Be More Summer Block Party. I've stepped away from that. I've been trying to pull into becoming into the political world to run for office. I turned that down. I'm just not into it. I can't imagine them going through the skeletons in my closet. Oh my goodness, they would, yeah. Because we all are human. We built WPB networks. which, to be quite honest with you, most of the mainstream conglomerates here, the Radio Ones, the Clear Channels, the all of those corporate companies, we can log in and look at our analytics every day and see that they constantly monitored us. If you turn around today, Mark, and you look, everything we were doing back then, they're doing now. We were way ahead. We were 6, 7 years ahead of, and then I screwed that up by, walking away from my marriage, falling in love with, another woman, having 2 kids, walked away from that relationship, and, fell in love again, got married again. And to be quite honest with you, we learn, and listen, if you don't make mistakes, how are you going to learn? How are you going to ever become better? So don't be afraid of making mistakes. Don't be afraid of trying. What I've learned and I'm pursuing today to become a better me is not forget about who I am. A lot of times when we go through life experiences, we'll forget about who we are. We'll second guess who we are. We'll question who we are. We wake up one morning and we set out to pursue something and don't work. We'll get discouraged and we'll forget about who we are. We're resilient. We're resilient as a people, as a person, and more importantly, what God intended us to be. We just have to take hold of that, and we just have to not forget ourselves.
Look at Frank Johnson, the author of Ambitious. Dude, you dropping some gems, man. I love.
You know why, man? Because I'm so tired of the fake. I'm so tired of people just, being fake. And, it's so easy for the gram to look, like you got $1 billion. It's so easy for, you to drive around in nice cars, and then you go home and cry at night. Then you go home and you're sad, and you go home, and like me these days, I'm alone at home. And, I question that sometimes. I question, could I have been a better person in life to put me in a different perspective of where I am now? But you know what, as one of my friends, really good friends, best friends, Malik, says to me all of the time, a good friend of mine, Donnie Glover, always tell me, sometime, Frank, you got to sit in your own mess so that you can understand that path that you walked, and figure out how to, correct it and become a better person. I'm excited that I'm a better person mentally today. I'm so excited about some of the opportunities that I have coming up. The resurgence of the industry executive is coming soon. Thank you, to some good friends of mine. And I'm excited. I'm excited about 2022 and moving forward. I'm more excited about where I'll be when I become 60, because I see it already. I can envision it myself. So.
Well, Frank, thank you for joining us this morning. Again, the book is Ambitious. You can get it everywhere you get books. Frank's story, but I love the fact, Frank, you let people interact with the book and actually think about their own lives. And today you made us think about our own lives. There's some good, you kept it 100. You kept it 100, as the kids say.
The takeaway page. This is the takeaway page. After you read every section, you go in and you answer these questions for yourself. Every chapter challenges you to reflect on a better you. And that's
so, Frank, as we wrap things up, Frank, what's the one thing you would have done differently in your life?
In my life?
And there's still plenty of life to live. I'm just saying, what's the one thing you would have done differently?
All due real honesty, I would have, had I known what I know today, I would have not held myself accountable for my father's mistakes. I would have, which meant I would still be in New York as an executive. I'd probably be president of a label now. I'd still be in New York. I'd still be living Frank Johnson's life. For the most part of my life, I've lived trying to make up for what my father, what I assume my father did, was walk away from his kids and his responsibility. I wouldn't have held myself accountable for it, which sometimes, it pushes you to make decisions that you could have made differently. I'd be a different person. I'd be, but I don't regret any of the things I did,
It's all living life.
Yeah.
Frank, thank you so much, my friend.
For me, I like that. Thank you for summing that up for me. Live life.
Yeah,
I would go
live
live my life instead of trying to relive and fix his mistakes.
Frank, thank you for joining us, man. Get the book Ambitious. I appreciate you, brother. I'll be talking to you soon. All right. All right, brother. Take care now. Frank Johnson in the building. And again, Dave, he led with keeping it all the way real, right? He led with just coming out the box. I always tease you because I call you sometimes blunt, but you kind of do that too. Yeah. But I think, and maybe that's what we probably do share, is that we don't have a problem talking about our shortcomings and then also talking about, our fears. Because I think there's so much, like Frank said, on Instagram, and there's so many, you know what it is, Dave? I think, and I've hung out with you and I know your background. Yeah. I think number one, we were blessed with moms and parents and families where we were able to do that. And I think that's one thing I've learned, is that a lot of people have not been. And so that's why give that person $20 million and they're still that same broken person who had never had the love and support, never had the ability to just be honest with their feelings. Sometimes never had the time to even think about their feelings because they were just struggling so hard. They just were trying to survive. It's survival mode versus, and Dave, is that why a lot of times, a lot of these famous people we see, I always come to mind, Floyd Mayweather and 50 Cent always come to mind. Yeah. I feel like they could have all the money in the world, but they move like they're not happy people. They show you their money. They show you their car. I'm the first brother that got this $8 million watch. Yeah, great. You know what I mean? Right. But if that's all you know, that's all you know. I was talking to a young person because I was trying to have that conversation with my daughter about fame versus being skilled. And I was, I was talking to some younger people having the TV gig, and they're, in their 20s. And they were like, well, maybe some people, that is their goal. They just want to be famous. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? That's true. But I guess what I wasn't, the second part I didn't tell them was, and that pursuit is one that will end in a sad place,
Yeah. I think we put a lot of emphasis on getting money. And I will tell you, money's great. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna be money's not everything. Okay, first of all, it's not everything, but you know what? It pays for everything. Even the Bible says money answereth all things. But if you don't have any perspective, because nobody teaches perspective, nobody teaches soft skills. When you go to schools, which are built like factories, they don't teach you how to navigate people. They don't teach you empathy. They don't teach you respect. They teach you discipline. They teach you stand up. No one is giving you a tool like human appreciation. And we have appreciation for other human beings. You move a little bit differently. It don't mean I get it right, because I don't. I'm still navigating a lot of stuff. But the one thing that I will say is I'm not afraid to make a mistake. I'm not afraid to try it. My whole thing is, if I'm broke right now, right, and I try something, you know where I'm going to end up? Either successful or broke. It's a very binary situation. Right. But what we do is we sit around and we worry about the opinions of other people. We worry about how other people interpret us. We don't want to be talked about. I teach a social media class at Temple University, and so many kids are like, yeah, the reason that I don't get on this particular social media platform is because I'm afraid of what people are going to say. And I was like, calm down, boo-boo cakes. They talking about you anyway.
Yes.
Like, we didn't have social media and they was talking about us.
Oh,
we had the vent. Remember the vent? And that damn Taz, he sit up there, he say what he 20 years old, sit up here talking like he been somewhere. Like, people are going to say whatever they're going to say. You cannot stop that. But why are we so imprisoned by the opinions of other people? That's why I salute Frank. He was like, yeah, I was married and then I fell in love with somebody else and had 2 more kids. And then I got to fix my relationship with my daughters because, well, let's face it, they don't really like me much because what I did to their mama was kind of jacked up. Yeah.
Well, and like you said, and again, and that's why I had to keep it real with Frank too. When that moment, so Frank had built a streaming radio station, like you said, 8 years ago, him and his wife, you know what I mean? And, they were rocking and it was like, all the how to monetize, blah, 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 those questions that still remain today, but he was ahead of the curve and he had a team. And Frank walked away from the team. It was like, wow, but again, the fact life goes on. That's the thing about it. Like you said, we have these fears, we make these decisions. Some people don't ever make any decisions because of fear, but hey, sometimes you got to make that call, you got to make that decision. And sometimes that call was wrong, but you had to go through it to know it, And I think also, Dave, you're around. I mean, again, you not only know Gary V, you've been on his show, he's been on your show. So you have access to a person who's considered one of the foremost futurists probably of his time. And you're right there with him. And that's the thing. Most of us don't ever have access, So when you get in that room is different. The information is different. You've been in many of those rooms. And so, like you said, a lot of the comments, a lot of the way you approach things on Facebook and you kind of blast people in the face, it might be a traditional Democrat like myself. It may be, the traditional black moves, and you're almost like anti that. And then so people.
I'm 100% anti that.
Yeah. But then people try to, and what happens though is people, because we are so conditioned and because there are so many forces at work that we're not aware of, they like to put it in a box. So they'll take a Dave and something controversial you say, and then put you in the Candace Owens box. But it's
Candace
like, no, I ain't doing
me.
that. But you know what I mean? It's like, but again, you've been in these rooms. You ain't scared of that though. See, that's the thing. You ain't scared of that. I had to laugh at myself because I'm now in a space where, I do, I'm on television as a television host working for companies, multi-million-dollar companies. Absolutely. So now I'm not as controversial as I used to be because who knows who's watching. And so, and I'll say that, something that I would have said a couple months ago, I ain't saying right now. You know what I mean? But
you have to keep it very middle of the road for the sponsors. But I want to be very clear about this because you bring up a very interesting point. And I feel like it's important to talk about this, right? I'm gonna ask you some questions, Mark, about your upbringing, right? Did your parents feel good about anybody coming in and telling them how to raise you?
No.
Okay. Do you want anybody telling you how to raise your daughters?
Telling me how to raise them?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Do you want anybody telling you that if there are people on the streets with guns, like in Philadelphia, we have a carjacking epidemic, right? And there are like Lyft drivers and Uber drivers who are fighting back. They are literally because they're stopping and getting carjacked, but they have a concealed carry license. And so what's happening is these folks are trying to carjack them, and these Uber and Lyft drivers are shooting first. Do you want anybody telling you that you can't have a gun to defend yourself in that type of situation?
In that type of situation, no.
Congratulations, you're conservative. These are the things we don't talk about.
Well,
you want to know why?
But like you said, Dave, now the part that's missing is context. That's the part. So like you said, any black person will tell you that black people are conservative. Your grandparents, my mom, da-da-da. The problem is the black family, a true representation of the black family is never presented.
No.
And so what's always presented is poor black people or black families who are raised in the ghetto. And so so for the average white person, they don't know about Big Mama and church and all this stuff we just said. The clothes you wore, the language you used, like I said, your Uncle Earl had guns. You went hunting with your uncle anyway.
Oh yeah.
He had all kinds of guns from when he was in the service and from when he was this and that. But also, and so yes. And when you say, so you know what I mean? It's almost like, and that's the conservatives have done a great job, just like conservatives saying that they're like religious. They're not. The moves made by the Republicans has nothing to do with God and those church, but that's the image. And so their machine is just much better. The Democratic machine sucks, as you point out, and the black people machine, we don't even have a machine.
No, because we look to the white people to give us a machine. And here's the thing, right?
Yeah, we don't have a machine. We don't have a lobbying group that pushes the black agenda.
Oh, but we do. Cube has one. Tariq Nasheed has one. I have one.
No, but problem is, that's not. That also those people they're corrupted too. See, that's the problem though, Dave.
I ain't corrupt.
You're not. But
right. But everybody has an agenda. Everybody has an agenda.
Exactly.
Here's the game.
Tariq
We're looking for
Nasheed. I love
purists.
Tariq Nasheed. Too bad he didn't call Dave Anderson about optics. You can't you can't be raising $1 million for something in the community, but you're in your Maybach with the top down because you still got to floss. That optic makes people look at you like you're not real. You know,
that's more Brother Polite than Tariq, but I'm with you on that.
No, Brother Polite did. I mean, no, Tariq did the same thing. He was raising money in his. Why you got to show me the car you got? I don't need to see this. You know what I'm saying? And why you got to be a pimp? You know, on one hand, you got these amazing movies, but on the other hand, you still have your pimp brand that people on radio. That's what we had you on for, talking about how to talk to hoes.
Automatic lessons.
I can't really take you seriously because my family, like Dave's family, Big Mama, your daddy and your mama would say, what? That's why Brother Umar, who tried to do
Umar's another one. Yeah.
There are wealthy black people who give to a black school. Absolutely. But what they ain't gonna do is give to somebody who's arguing on Twitter with somebody else. Dude, there's a whole upper echelon wealthy black community who funds schools every day. Funding a school, that ain't no problem. But what's the problem is your optics on social media.
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of it. The other part of it is the man has issues with his taxes. The other part of it is
women.
He has issues with women, which is not surprising. He's a public figure. That happens. The thing that's very important to remember is
Dave, you're the only one to do. Brother Polite, brilliant. Brother Polite is brilliant, but the optics look crazy because again, you didn't have the parents that we had. That basically they showed you how to navigate properly.
Right. And you know what? Everybody should be under that scrutiny. My issue is, where's that scrutiny when Joe Biden is smelling little girls' hair? Where's that scrutiny when Joe Biden says, oh, I don't want my children being raised in a racial jungle? When he says Obama was, what was it? Because I want to make sure I get this one right. What is it? I mean, you got the first mainstream African-American who's articulate, bright, and clean.
But again, Dave, the problem though is that yes, what do we expect? It's the system.
Right, but if it's the system, why are black people the only ones who only go on one side of the system like they're good? There's nothing to be shown for it. Look at Baltimore. Look at Philadelphia, where I live. We've had black mayors. We've had black police commissioners. We got a black female police commissioner right now who tore up Seattle before she came here.
Oh no, that's no doubt. But here, the reason it is because number one, like you said, the whole system has to be investigated. But okay, the move that's happening right now with the conservative movement that's taking away all those rights that you fought for the civil rights, that's the focus. Saying what the Democrats ain't doing has nothing to do with this move that's happening right now. And what is that move right now? It's the wealthy, right? They are 86 and you poor folks, regardless of color. And so while we could focus on that, but the real issue is, and the real movement is really the poor people movement that Bishop Barber talks about. But but also knowing what we know is if you try to do that, your ass to get killed. The black stuff, you can do all the black stuff you want to, all that unity stuff we want to talk about. Try to put some poor people together. You'll be Fred Hampton. You'll be Marc Clarke. You know what I mean? And Barber. Watch Bishop Barber. If black people were listening, they probably would take him out. But because we don't listen and because we're not paying attention to anything, and all we do is beef on social media, then it doesn't really matter because we don't have. There's no power base going anywhere.
Right, but here's the thing: if you're sitting here, right, for example,
and by the way, for those who are thinking about hiring me, disregard this comment that Dave brought me into.
I'm stuck in the vortex,
and what are we doing?
Listen, we're in the vortex, but listen, Allison Seymour's a beautiful woman. She's intelligent. She's famous. She's completely wonderful.
Yes.
If you were a scrub dumb bum, she would have never married you.
True.
Because her main asset that she has, it's not her beauty, it's not her intelligence, it's her time. She's giving up her freedom and her time to be with you. That is a conscious decision. What we do, 96% of them, of Black Americans vote in one basket and we get absolutely nothing for it. The Temptations was singing about this before I was born. Vote for me and I'll set you free. What my whole thing is, if you're not coming to the table with anything, why should I give you my vote? Oh, and by the way, when Japanese people got Japanese Americans got put in internment camps during World War II, they had Japanese American rights. When they started putting Native Americans in reservations, they had Native American rights. What do we get? Beat upside the head for civil rights. And you know who benefited from civil rights? Fat white women who wanted to drive buses and be stewardesses. What did we get for it? We're still talking about we need votes.
But that message, this message though, is not this message. If you're gonna have this message, does nothing though but make people who are already apathetic more apathetic. If you really, and that's my only beef with the kind of conversations like that. Is you're giving half of the story and half of the solution. Number one, like you said, the first thing would be you'd have to have a real conversation about working together and us coming together. So that's the first part. And the reality is that ain't happening. Why? Because we ain't having that conversation. All we do is take pot shots. And so the real thing, if we were really talking about a real movement, it would start with us coming to, first of all, Americans don't vote. So it's not just Black folks not voting, participating. It's an American thing, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's the first thing. So then you start having the real conversation about, well, this is what you need to do if you really want to change the system. But again, well, you know, if you have that conversation and that and with the talent that you have, you're talking about, in addition to being broke, you're talking about getting taken out. And so that's why when I see,
and that's why I keep it to a certain, so at the end of the day, decibel, Dave, because I have children. But the thing of it is, Mark,
Dave, so having the conversation then and pointing it out and kind of saying this, what y'all ain't doing, it really is all it's doing is really nothing.
But that's only part of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, for example, right, when you look at Hispanics, when you look at the LGBTQIA+ community, they have representation on both sides of the aisle. The reason you have representation on both sides of the aisle is so that you can get at least something pushed through. If you only have it on one side of the aisle, there's no incentive for the other side to do anything for you. What I'm saying is, from a financial standpoint, we've got to start putting our money where our mouths is. It's not enough to start marching and voting and hashtagging. We have to start putting in some serious investment and getting these politicians to do what we need to do.
Yeah, this conversation would have been great a couple years ago before Trump, but dude, the Republican Party, what are you talking about? Michael Steele, George Will, these traditional Republicans are bailing because they see what's going on. This is a race war that they're trying to build. It's not about having both representation on both sides, because on the other side, all you have is coons who are getting paid by the party to represent them. That it's a take. It's a move. It's not, and that's what I'm saying. When George Will steps down, you know George Will, when he steps aside and says, "Oh, this party," when Michael Steele's like, "I'm inside it." That was what he ran on here in Maryland. That's what he ran on when he was lieutenant governor. But he looks at his party and he says, "Oh, this thing that's going on right now. It ain't about that. This is a takeover. This is people who looked at January 6th and said it didn't happen and that it wasn't that bad." No.
Oh, it completely happened.
A coup is going down. So my question to you, though, is, as somebody who is a genius, that's what's really going on. Why isn't that the conversation?
Here's the thing, right? And I'm going to be very
ready to run again.
And he's going to win.
The conversation?
He's absolutely going to win. And you want to know why? Because we continue to allow people to play in our face. Bro, like we allow people to play in our face. When a Black woman, in quotation marks, says, "Yeah, I'm not going to do anything specifically for Black people," no, and it wasn't edited and it wasn't taken out of context. She was asked a very specific question, and she's lived up to that. But let some person who's a white man have mental health issues and then go to the happy ending massage parlors and start killing Asians. She was one of the first things smoking. Like, we have to, do you know why that happens? Because we allow it to, Mark. On both sides, we allow that behavior to happen. What I'm saying is, if we want to make something happen, we need to start demanding stuff for our vote. We need to start putting things in place. And we need to do what we used to do in slavery times. Not that I want to go back to slavery times, but we used to meet clandestinely by ourselves, make moves and make things happen. A lot of times we don't look at the cultural and financial implications of these decisions that we make. Montgomery Bus Boycott was great. You know the problem with it? There were black-owned bus companies in Montgomery that wound up choking and going out of business. And all black people wanted was to be able to sit wherever they wanted to sit on the front of the bus.
Bruh,
come on.
No. Your argument is out of context. It's out of context.
Put it in context for me, bro. I'm here for it.
No, it's out of context, and that's what I'm saying. These discussions are most of the time out of context. You know, to look back and say what, to say that again, it has to be framed right. You know,
okay.
You're right. You're right. At the end of the day, when you talk about African American, we talk about America, the system, right?
Absolutely.
In the barbershops, we talk with this argument all the time. You know, white people think the white man's ice is colder. No,
it's true.
No, well, here's the reality, though. And I think, and again, we had these conversations, and I don't need to be having these conversations because, again, why
are we having this conversation? We're supposed to talk about crypto.
Anyway, so that argument about the one thing that we've always said, we've said it, we've heard it, we participated in it. When you talk about the system, right? We talk about the Black Wall Streets, which there were many Black Wall Streets,
absolutely,
around the country. What you really understand is that the drive for the drive for integration, it looks like that it was driven because we wanted to be next to white folks, right? What we didn't realize was Black Wall Street and places like that made the powers that be realize that African Americans are the ultimate consumers. So if we don't allow them to shop with us, they will build their own wealthy empires.
Exactly.
So what we thought the civil rights movement was about, us making these changes and people making moral changes. It was a business decision that the infrastructure that runs things made. And so we're stuck in this argument, like the conversations that we have about we always want to be white to white. No, it was we were denied it because we were not considered humans. And then we wanted humanity, and we felt that was the humanity. But what we didn't realize was the business part is that we are the biggest consumers.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, social media, whatever it is, we're the biggest consumers. So if there are only Black companies, we'd be rich. And so they destroyed that. And that's the beauty of the system by having us focused on the infighting and the this and that, and not really looking at the big picture. You know, and so that's all I'm saying. It's like we go back and forth. We have the group, but it's at the end of the day, it wasn't. It was more than met the eye. You know what I mean? Like you said,
of course, everything's nuanced. But my point to you, Mark, is this: my grandparents had 7 kids.
Conversation, though,
right? But my grandparents had 7 kids. Only one of them was born in a white hospital, and that's because she was early, and that was my mother. It was an emergency birth. Every other one of my aunts and uncles was born in the Black hospitals with Black doctors, right? There were Black hotels in Philadelphia, right? Name the top 5 Black hotels in the country right now, Mark.
Name
the top 5 Black hospitals, excluding Howard University Hospital.
Exactly.
All that stuff is gone because we decided to go out.
But here's the thing.
And that's what our economy.
We didn't decide to go out. We didn't decide to go out. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It was a system. You know, there was a system, and like you said, it was the American dream. It was, what you don't know. It's like when you like Frank said, when you don't understand how something works, even to this day, we still don't understand. There are Black folks who don't understand the powers of HBCUs. They don't get it. They don't get it. Okay, so all I'm saying is, and somebody said, Dave, he's part of the problem. All I'm saying is I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just saying there's a more effective way to deal with it, because the reality is what's missing is the question is, how do you unify it? How do you get us together to get to move. People always say we're not a monolith, and you're right. But it's
We're
like the
not.
reason we're not a monolith is because they put systems in place to make us not a monolith.
Facts.
And so the reason is because if we were a monolith, then we would be putting people in power that could change the system. If poor people were a monolith, they would put, if poor people voted for issues that affected them, then they wouldn't be red states, because you got the worst school systems, you got the worst healthcare. White folks, you're focused on racism when you need to be focused on why you ain't got nothing. Why you have
no bread.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So it's not just us, it's the whole American system. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
And so I think, so like Rondi says, what's next now is the metaverse. There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity to hop into a place where we can build it. It's there, whatever. And I already got one. Tyrone Taborn, who was on STEM City USA, is already a metaverse. It's 2D and 3D right now.
Absolutely.
STEM City USA. But Dave, as you know, what will happen if I say STEM City USA it's ready right now, it's open, and it's already got sponsorship? There's going to be another group of people who say, well, I don't mess with STEM City because I mess with so because I don't like no. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking. So I'm saying, Dave, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I don't disagree with it. I'm just saying I don't know if pointing out what we ain't doing right helps us get to what we need to do right.
How do you fix the problem if you never diagnose it?
Well, but the diagnosis, they have to hear your diagnosis. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
So in other words, okay, these people on social media who have these great platforms, right?
Right.
You know what they got though? What they have, and I don't have, is a character issue.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Huge facts.
And so because of that, people don't believe you. You go so far, and I don't know if I can trust you. And that's one of the divisions. But that's not just people on social media. That's who else?
Everywhere.
Black leadership, our elected officials, our ministers. We have a character issue that we have to address. And if we don't address it, we'll never get forward, because people, in other words, if I say, give me $10 and you don't trust me as a human being, if I say, give me $10 and you see me in my Maybach with the top down, if I say, give me $10 and you're talking about how to Mac and how to get hose, what are we talking about? And so that's all I'm saying.
Right, but here's the thing, right? Optics are a big part of it. They really are. Yes. So my whole thing is this. Here's my issue, right? You want to keep good Black people in the political sphere, in the public service sphere, in the business sphere honest. You take care of them. You make sure they have absolutely everything they need, even if it's just all you can do is make dinners for them. You know, that's the thing. You know, the reason that I've kept a lot of folks from getting that sellout label on them is because I wrote checks. Because if I know that this is what you need to keep going, I will give you that, so that the man don't come around and corrupt one of our important channels. You know, like that is the thing. When Warner Brothers decided they were going to pull the plug on Malcolm X, he went and got with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier and all these other folks that went and helped fund the rest of that film for Spike. Like, we've got to do that, otherwise we don't have any type of base, and that's the problem. Also, every Vietnamese community I know, every Chinese community I know, they might not like each other, but they're in lockstep when it comes to what needs to happen for their people. Because listen, I'm the son of a federal agent. I am the brother of a cop. I am the nephew of 2 cops. My aunt and uncle are all cops. Nobody gives a rat's ass when that red and blue light comes up. I was in Maryland, and I got pulled over in my BMW because somebody had a similar car than I did. And the only thing that saved me was I didn't have locks. If I had locks, I'd have been going to jail that night, because he beat up like 3 women in a hotel lobby. You see what I'm saying? At that point, nobody cares about my political affiliations or who my brother is. And that's how we need to position this situation. If you're Black, you are a target on the left and the right. So make them earn your vote. Make them do things for you instead of thanking you, giving you good talk, and every 2 to 4 years showing up in the hood and doing the nay-nay. Like, that's my whole thing. We deserve to have tangible resources, because without us, there's nothing. And that's my whole thing. If you're only putting things in one basket at 96%, what is their incentive to do anything for you when they've already got you?
but again, Dave, okay, number one, your generation don't even vote. Okay, y'all don't even y'all talk a great me too. I'm with you. I'm older. I'm a decade older than you, but we do a great deal of talking. But Big Mama and them are the ones who are voting anyway. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we do a great deal of talking, but we don't do a lot of organization. We don't do a lot of organizing. You know what I mean? It's like we're great in a microphone and a social thing, but we're not great going into the community, boots on the ground, and making things different. And these young voices like yours need to be running for office. Here's why. Because if you're a Black politician and you're not a professional, you ain't had, if your political job pays you more than what you've earned in your life, we don't need you now. Okay. Yeah. We need people who are not doing it for the check. We need people who aren't doing it for, that's why Trump is so powerful, because he knows politicians will do anything for $20,000. Vote for a medicine that's going to give your kids cancer, whatever. So he understands that. And so that's what you identify with. I think a lot of you guys identify with that because that is true. But I'm just saying I don't know if putting our vote over here is the answer.
No, it's not. What I'm saying is
getting involved is the answer. And not just saying it, getting involved. If you ain't at your kid's school, if you have never voted, if you're not in the community, then why are people, you have all these comments on Black Twitter, but what have you really done?
Yeah, and I say that all the time. Like, to me, it's like when you look at the fraternities and sororities, right? Like, you don't see the Q starting a security force. If they did, we would have a lot less shootings at nightclubs, right? You don't see the AKAs and the Deltas giving etiquette lessons. You don't see the Zetas giving cooking lessons. You don't, like, all you see is the big five, which is toy drive, food drive, book drive, job fair, credit repair. That's it. Anything beyond that, absolutely nothing. So all of these organizations, for their t-shirts and their ski-wees and their cane twirling, have done absolutely nothing for the better part of 110 years to move the needle forward. But it looks good. And that's the same reason that Bill Clinton, aka Bubba from Arkansas, whose wife was a Goldwater girl, got in office in the first place, because all they got to do is do performative politics. What I'm saying is, if you have to work for something, let me finish and I'm coming home. If you have to work for something, you tend to make things happen, because if you know it's a lock, you don't work that hard.
So Dave, okay, now don't disagree with what you said, but let's keep it real.
Absolutely.
It'd be more effective, because I know you're with me on this one. We're talking about the Greeks, talking about organizations. Okay, number one, let's look at the Greek organizations. Yeah. What they really should be is a bank.
Facts.
And the president of each could then, you can imagine how much power that is. But so Dave, what would be more effective though than blasting them on social media would be to have a meeting and have that conversation, because that's a real thing, with that many people. And we're talking about, and that's what I'm saying. I think the way we approach it is the thing. And again, your generation, you guys you're nice with the words, but I don't know, like you said earlier, that soft skill, the tact, approaching, because the Zetas just were the first organization, I think, that just gave $100,000 a single scholarship. And they were very proud of that, right?
Right.
But imagine having the conversation with them, because they're now obviously they're moving that way, with Dave Anderson, and saying, let me show y'all how to become a bank and turn that 100,000 individual thing to multiple awards for communities.
Right. So
here's throwing a dagger, and you know what I'm saying?
But that's the thing. So you're only seeing the end result of it. Tupac famously said years ago, when people are hungry, at first they're like, we are hungry, please listen. We are hungry, please listen. Then it's like, yo, really starving, can you help me? Really starving, can you help me? Then after being ignored, I'm coming and I'm picking the lock, I'm kicking the door. That's what happens. Nobody sees when I go and I meet with these organizations. Nobody sees when individuals like me, and there's been plenty who have come to multiple people in those organizations and saying, hey, we would like to meet because we have this on the table, that on the table, this on the table, and we need you because you have these numbers at the snap of a finger, and they say, yeah, no, we're good. And it's happened with, I would say, to be honest, 7 out of 9 of the divine 9.
That's okay.
Me personally experienced. So when you start to say, well, you're throwing daggers, it's not throwing daggers. It's after a while, when you've seen this happen. I mean, Du Bois talked about the talented 10th way before you and I were thought of.
Oh, yeah.
And it's come to pass. And to act like it hasn't come to pass isn't throwing daggers. The problem with this time, not your generation, not my generation, but with this time is whenever somebody points out the unparalleled truth, what tends to happen is people start to get sensitive. That's why we have the cancel culture that we have. But when we try to come to you nicely, right, on some, hey, I'm Benny Blanco from the Bronx. I'd like to buy you a bottle of wine. Can we sit and talk? And you blow us off. Come by again. Hey, I'm Benny Blanco from the Bronx. Well, guess what? You're not paying your man. So now I'm paying your man. And then I catch you at the train station. Now it's 2 to your gut. Not that you wanted to come to that, but that's where it's come to. 111 years of nonsensical BS. And in my case, 25 of dealing with nonsensical BS. After a while, you have to say, okay, how many conversations actually were had to get me, just speaking for me, to the point where I'm like, y'all know y'all messing up, right? Because here's the thing. Look at our communities. I don't even like Kim Klacik, but Kim Klacik was 100% right. When I lived in Baltimore, Baltimore was trash.
Okay.
And you've got people like Saphir who are doing amazing things in Baltimore, but like the community is tore up. Philadelphia is tore up, and I love this town. We got to start looking at what we can do. Who's going to take the meeting?
Okay, but no. Okay, now see, and that's what I'm saying. So you mentioned Kim Klacik.
Mm-hmm.
These people, I'm not saying her because I'm not trying to get arrested, but they pay people, and those people say anybody could say that. You could say that to any. You could say that about any major city. Any major city, you could say the same thing. So that wasn't a bar.
No, I'm not saying that was a bar. No, what I'm saying is it's a fact.
They co-opt our organizations, they co-opt the organizations and have us have an infighting, and that's what they do. Right. So, at the end of the day, back to our original point, there was a time when before you even thinking about being a politician or running for office, you had to have something. Right? You had to have the community vouch, you had to be brilliant, you had to be special. You couldn't just say, I'm going to do this. I ain't never heard of you, and a party endorses you. You know what I mean? So anytime you see that happen, you already know the game. I'm not mentioning any names in Virginia. You already know the game. You don't know the person. They magically appear from out of nowhere. They have no community tie to nothing. They may not even be from this country. But I'm saying, you mentioned her name.
Right.
After we just talked about the vetting thing, why would you... Back to the optic. That optic looked crazy as hell. People who were watching was like, yeah, so. So they were like, wait a minute, what's this guy? Who's this guy talking about?
Right. No, I'll tell you. Here's the thing, though. We're so caught up in messenger and not message. It doesn't make it any less true. I am from Philly. No. I'm from Philly. I grew up in Philly. I am telling you, bro. Like, you can't argue with my experience. Let's take her off the table, because then we're getting to the weeds. You can't argue with the fact that I had to deal with stick-up kids, drug dealers, taking crack vials out of the things of my Timbs before I stepped in my house, that I've been shot at, that I've been stabbed, that I went to categorically the worst high school in America, have a Mensa pin but got a 725 on my SATs. Right? There is something wrong with the system, and it has been wrong for at least 3 decades. If you just go by my experience, and you can vet me all day, and what I'm saying is still factual.
Yeah, but again,
if I run for office, I'm a dead man. You know it. Everybody else knows it.
Yeah, but why? But what? Again, when we talk about it, but why is it? Back to when you talk about major cities, why are they like they are? Why are those communities like they are?
Because we allow it.
Because we allow it?
Yes, here's why. How many people do you know? How many people do you know show up to school board meetings? How many people do you know who their alderman is? How many people do you know who know who the city council person is? We've allowed that behavior to happen because guess what? As much money as I have, as many consortiums as I'm a part of, we can't buy an inch of land in Chinatown.
Right, and that
because they don't allow it.
When we say we allow it, again, you're talking about that's every community in America, not just Black communities. It's poor people. Okay,
Yeah, it
it's
is
poor
poor
people,
people. It is
right?
poor
And
people.
so it's not just it's poor people. So it's not a thing that's just us. It's it's the system.
No, and let
It's
me be
the
clear.
system.
I've only been Black all my life.
And this
I
is
agree that it's everybody and it's the system. But
yes.
even with that, when people who you would think are trying to change the system, they always have voter registration jobs. They never go in and say, I want to audit Alderman Jenkins. I want to
No.
see what's going on with City Councilman Johnson. They don't do
Right.
that because they're not directed to do that by people who understand what the game is. So the game is corrupt on both
And
sides.
so I'm
And the
saying
only
is,
way to change
and
that
all
is
I'm saying,
massive accountability.
and all I'm saying, Dave, is that people like us need to we need to be a part of showing people how to do it. Pointing it out doesn't help. Showing
I
people
agree.
how to do something about it, that's what really helps. So to move into the metaverse, and we
Right.
wrap things up. And we're gonna do the metaverse. So the metaverse is a place where we can rebuild and make things our own. I gotta have you back on to talk about crypto, future, metaverse, and also I gotta have you back on. Because again, I'm gonna have to. We got to flesh this out, and we have to have people hop in the conversation, right?
Yes.
But thank you, my brother, for always being there for me. You hit me. The God told you to call me because my guest couldn't make it, and she didn't feel well. You hit me right on time. I was in the car, like, what am I gonna do? Bam! Hey, man, you need anything? So now I gotta watch you, man. How did you know that a guest?
Hey, you know that the Illuminati knows everything, bro. Because once you get to a certain percentile, all of a sudden, they come with a black briefcase and they say, "Hey, you want to see what Marc Clarke needs right now?"
I was sitting in the car. She said I canceled, and then Dave just said, "Hey, man, you need anything?"
No, I mean, because it's important. And the thing of it is, and I was having this conversation with Ada. Like,
Dave could be the governor of Meta World. Yes.
Listen, vote for me. I'll set you free. But the thing of it is, I was having this conversation with Ada, from Royal Moss, and I was like, the 95% of this is just showing up for people who show up for you. And the reason that I'm able to have the righteous indignation that I have is because of people like you, and you specifically, because you give me an opportunity, whether you agree with me or not, to be who I am. You've never ever once hindered me from being who I am. And I don't think we realize how important that is, right? And we need all types of us in order to get it done. You listen, MLK and Malcolm X both needed rich Negroes and poor Negroes. They needed militant Negroes and passive Negroes. They needed coons and buffoons. You need absolutely everybody. And my whole thing is, I love my people. And I want my people to do better because there's a crap ton of money out here. And the only reason you're poor is not just because of the system. It's because no one is teaching you the things that you need to know in order to get out of that situation. Because listen, I wasn't born with no silver spoon. My mom ain't come from money. My people ain't come from money. So money has to come from you.
That's true. And I think, again, back to the original point, but the thing I think that we do have to realize, and you're right, I think back to the talented 10th piece, the piece that got missed, I think, and we see it every day is, yes, the talented 10th. It wasn't about flossing and saying, I'm a part of the talented 10th. The talented 10th were called on to save the less fortunate.
Yes.
And that's what's not happening. And that's where I get it. That's what your righteous indignation comes from, is the frustration of that. The haves, especially the people of color, the haves, we have an obligation to teach, to reach, to help, to pull up, to provide, not to be stuck in our ivory tower. We're supposed to go down and help. And so that's why you get so upset. And I agree with you. I'm just, like I say, I'm just, as I get older, how the banana in the tailpipe, you just kind of be like, oh, okay, I didn't, okay, I get it. And again, a lot of times it's funny because the kids, the people who do the QAnon people, very brilliant, very brilliant.
Super.
There's so much ignorance. There's so many things that you're not aware of. If you take something that's true and then mix it in with a lie,
with a whole bunch of BS,
especially for people like us, again, working and having the families that we had and working in media. I think even people like us, since we worked in media and it was a certain time, we're not going to fall for a false headline. You know, it doesn't hit us like it hits the average person. When we see stuff, we see it no matter what it is, alien, blah, 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 blah. We just be like, interesting. And then we're going to go, we're going to look at the information. We're going to make a few calls. We're going to, even how we process stuff. We ain't going to just be all in. But now I think so many people are being enlightened to truth and lies. They're just a wreck.
But I'm going to tell you this, man. I want you to know I love you with all my heart. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you. And the truth of the matter is I got to see you win. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't think you understand how much of a hero you are to me, because even when I was in low points, I look up and I saw that Folgers commercial. I'm like, yo, if he can do it, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? And people don't get that part. Like, sometimes you need your heroes. Here's the thing, though, Mark, and I want to close on this. What hurts more than anything is, regardless of everything, when you have the knowledge and you say, hey, let me just show you this. Yeah, dog, why are we going to build another Black Wall Street? They just going to burn it down. And I'm like, but they're burning down your row home, bro. Like, I'd rather them try and burn down a mansion where I can get my insurance premiums to cover it. And that's the thing. We've been beaten into submission, and all I'm saying is I just want us overall to do better and utilize the system to manipulate it like everybody else who understands that there's a game being played needs to go ahead and do it. Oh, he got the listen, y'all, watch this. This right here is pivotal. Watch this. This pivotal.
Dave. You're right, man.
It's pivotal. Look at this.
It's barely morning, and somehow Marc Clarke has to wake up. Of course, Mark has a little help. Only Folgers has the aroma-sealed canister that helps keep that remarkable Folgers aroma fresh, morning after morning. It's a good thing Folgers wakes up Mark, because it's Mark's job to wake up everyone else.
Good morning, everybody. I know I'm awake. Are you?
What I love is the white engineers. Good morning, Mark. Yeah, okay. But I was like, damn, he got a white engineer. I would like to do that.
It's so funny, man. When you say that got me. What about, and again, Dave, if I was a good producer, I would have it locked and loaded. But you on the Breakfast Club with your jacket with sponsors on it, hilarious.
All Black-owned businesses.
And then you talking with Gary V, and what I love about you, and what I love about you, and I think for anybody watching, we all have those moments when we're in the valley. We all have those moments where we question. We all have those moments. What's interesting, Dave? And again, I don't know. I'm not going to say, and I think you're like me. I don't know if I ever really said to myself, honestly, like, am I good enough? It wasn't really that. It was more like that moment. You just want to hit it in that moment. You know what I mean? You want to perform. Yeah. I don't, and I think, what about you? I don't think you ever said, am I good enough? Did you?
No, yeah. I had too many people.
But I think that's a testament to our families.
Yeah.
Because I think most Black people, and that's what makes us a little different, have that thought. And not just most Black people, most people. Let's keep it real.
Because if you think that you can do it, you're going to, like you said, disrupt the system. If everybody believed that they could live up to their potential, the whole system would crash in on itself, and the people that have power would no longer have power.
Right. And Dave, so you, just as you said, I inspired you, you inspired me, you reminded me. And I think that's the thing, Allison's father, my father-in-law, who was a minister, I love so much about him. He said at the end of the day, he said, basically, you're just like, you're made in God's image. You're just like Jesus. Jesus was made in God's image. You're a son of God, daughter of God. So you're just like Jesus. But that remembering who you are piece, remembering who you are, Frank said it too. Some people, sadly, I think never knew who they were. But so when I saw you with Gary V, I'm like, I love the fact that you're with Gary V, but it wasn't like you were like, oh, Gary V. You're like, what's up?
Yeah. And I said, here's the crazy thing. I've never told anybody this, right? If you look, when Gary V does interviews, there's a chair he sits in. I sat in his chair. I sat in his chair because he came like 5 minutes after I got settled. So I sat and everybody's like, I'm like, oh,
I love it. Good. I love the fact, but that was so, because it just is a reminder. Why not? Right. Yeah, he knows a lot of stuff. I know a lot of stuff. He's great. I'm great. It's like that. We sometimes need that reminder for anybody watching this right now. And it's not based on what you've done in life. No. It's based on the fact that you are a human, breathing human being or alien. You got everything you need within you to live the dreams. You got it all. Don't let anybody make you believe you don't, because that's a part of the game. And I think Dave and I, fat guys, we saw that early on. Oh, they're coming for you when you fat. The jokes, the this, the that. So at the end of the day, you started to look around and started noticing most of the people that talk most about you had some flaws that were pretty apparent.
Oh,
so
yeah,
they were
focusing
on you because they wanted to keep you off them.
Yes.
And
listen, I've had people tell me straight up and down, like, the reason I was so disrespectful to you because I didn't want you to take my job. Like, I've had people tell me that now that I'm out of the industry. Now it's like, yeah, I didn't want you to take my job. That's why I said those things to you. Like,
right?
You did that to a kid. You did that to a 20-year-old kid.
And we didn't understand it, Dave, because we don't think that way. We didn't get it. We didn't get it when you're around insecure people, insecure bosses, insecure people. They think different. They're like 2 steps ahead because they're plotting your demise. But we never thought that way because we knew we moved how we moved.
That's it.
And if another talented person is in the space, fine. Yeah. You're talented. I'm talented.
We can be talented together. I'm not thinking about you.
I'm not thinking about you. And you're right. I'm the best. You are. You go ahead. And you're the best you. Guess what? I'm the best me. And guess what? I can't be the best you. You can't be the best me. So no reason to worry.
Okay. And I tell people all the time, they're like, well, you know, it's arrogant to say that you're the best in the world. I'm the best Dave Anderson in the world right now. Because the guy who used to be me, he don't exist no more. You can't kill this one. And that's the thing. I want us to love where we are in the process. I want us to get involved with what we can be. I want us to date our potential. Not talking about another person, but just fall in love with who you can be. Wrap yourself around the idea that you can be greater than what you are. You got tears in my eyes, Marc Clarke. I hate you.
Look,
because man, it's crazy how far people will go to stop you, but won't go that far to start themselves.
Oh, and you know what, Dave, and back to the original, and that's, but we know why. It's just insecurity. And Dave, I'm in this space right now, and thank you. You are too. We're on this journey, right?
Yes, sir.
It's like, and I've been in the journey before, but I think now I'm like looking around. I'm on the journey, and I'm realizing things. And I think, again, if anybody that needs to hear this today, you're on a journey too. And sometimes we don't realize it. What I'm seeing now, I'm at the point in my life where I'm just seeing the connection. I'm seeing the connections. You know, when a 20-something Dave Anderson was watching a 30-something on his way to 40-something Marc Clarke, and when a 20-something Marc Clarke met Virgil Sims, who gave me a record, but later on I was coming, and all these things are tying together. I see Wayne, who knew my father-in-law, and the messengers that my dad, the things that my father-in-law used to say that I wasn't hearing. So here I am, you know, on the weight loss journey, on this TV journey. I've got a couple television interviews. And so then, like you said, what you were saying, you just said it, Dave, about seeing yourself or whatever. So I'm a radio guy. Now I'm a TV guy.
Yeah.
Now I'm a
You're
TV
guy, bro.
And people are seeing me as the TV guy. People are saying, I'm thinking we're going to invest in this guy. And it's like, it's deep because now I've been on the journey before, but to do it on a different thing. But like you said, Dave, I remember when I was starting that reinventing piece right after we got let go of the radio station, and I was the heaviest that I'd ever been. And it was the first time I really felt a certain way. I was angry because I felt like they let us go, you know, unceremoniously. But that person there, though, because I'd been there before, I knew that God, the universe, Allah, whatever you believe in, whatever I believe in, I knew something else was coming. And so I didn't know what it was going to be. So I just got on that treadmill, and we started. And so again, if you're watching this and you have that feeling that you're in a dead-end job, you're in a dead-end marriage, you're frustrated with your family, like Frank just said, I'm reconnecting with my girls because I know we don't have the best relationship. It starts with being honest. First, be honest with yourself. Then, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Ask God. Ask God. Put it in God's hand. Say, God, I don't know. I'm giving it to you, and listen, and do something, and know that. And so, like I said, when that was about a year. It hasn't been. Has it been? So that was November 2020, and so now 100 and something pounds lighter, and TV. And like I said, I'm flying to an interview this weekend.
Look at him. You see that? Y'all see that? I'm flying to an interview this weekend.
They're bringing me in, and you're just like, man, God, I put it in your hands, and you just said, watch me work, baby.
That's it. Stay out the way. I got this. So
today, y'all do this. If you're going through that, or if you're like me, you're on that journey, just don't forget who you are. And don't forget, just do the right thing and understand that you have everything you need to win. And Dave, like you said, you want to see everybody win. And it frustrates you when you see people. See, some people don't know they're supposed to win. Some people, their family, let's keep it real. Some people came from families that told them they weren't supposed to win.
Yep.
Some people came from religions that said you ain't nothing but a sinner. Some people came from a relationship with somebody they loved, and that person crushed them.
Yes.
And so they got to remember, wait, I got to remember who I am. I got to remember, shake it off. I got to remember who I am. And then some people have done some bad things and feel like they don't deserve something. But understand that you need to forgive yourself, and you need to forgive those people who did that to you. And you got to make it, because you only get, that's the thing. I'm 55, Dave, you're still younger than me.
Yes.
One thing you start realizing when the parents, well, you know that feeling, when the parents start going and the grandmas start going and the friends start going, is that it really is a blessing to wake up every day.
Listen, every day, man. Like, one thing about life that is the great equalizer. We talk about poor people, rich people, everything. You're not getting out of life alive. So what are you going to get out of it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta be willing to say, okay, today's the day. I might be down a little bit today. I might have a little bit more month at the end of the money, but you know what? I'm going to make some different decisions. I'm going to take things to another level. And I thank God for the presence of people like you in my life, and specifically you, because you show me that there's still so much more to learn, and that I've learned some things that you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, there has to be an exchange. And without that exchange, we're all lost, bro. But I'm telling you, I would rather die than you be out here, by yourself, man. Like, because I was talking about this. I had a dream. I didn't even tell you this, and I'm gonna shut up after this because I know we way over time. But I had a dream, and I got to tell you this, right? I had a dream that I was having a body reveal party, and you were hosting it. I'm like, yeah, body reveal party.
Let's go,
Thank you, Lord.
go.
That sounds dope. Yeah, I'm down 111 pounds, but we're not going to count. We're not.
Wait a minute, hold on. And I just want people to know, Dave and I are on this weight loss journey and all these other journeys, and I just want people to know, me and Dave, my wife had my wife. I asked her the other day, and I know your wife will say the same thing. How am I different with this weight loss? She said, oh, you think you're cute. But you always thought you were cute. But now, Dave, I think we both thought we were cute. We thought we were cute. We were on them scales.
Listen.
So now that we're coming down, we think we're cute. But Dave, I want to say this for all Dave's clients. You get him now. He's 100 and something down now. But when he reaches his goal, I don't know what it is. When he reaches his goal and he gets hired, he's going to say this.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
You better know. Listen.
Yesterday's price
look at that.
is not today's
When they
price.
cut this off, Mark, oh my God. Oh, gun show. It's crazy out here, baby. Listen, I'm addicted to feeling better. I'm addicted to looking better. Like, man, and I'm like, and I remember I would call you like 3 times, like, Mark, but what about this? And what's it like when you wake up? And how do you feel? And what's it like not eating? And, do you get it? Like, what vitamins do you take? Like, I must have drove this man. I probably didn't drive this man crazy, like when he was in radio, as much as I drove him crazy behind this whole weight loss thing, because he was killing. I looked up and I was like, yo, I felt like somebody recast him. He looks complete. We should call the thing recasting Marc Clarke, because that's not the dude. It's a different dude.
Well, so Dave, I talked to, I know, we've been investigating we're like girls now. I was investigating a plastic surgeon, my man, and so he agreed. He said, yeah, man. So I'd be a year in April, because I got the skin, but I'm not all the way. I said, do I wait? He said, give it at least a year so you stabilize.
Yep.
And then at that point, so for me, April 19th will be a year for me. Mm-hmm. And so, but it's so funny, like you said, I was isn't it funny when you've had weight loss surgery, when you're all into what's going on with you, you notice everybody else's everything, right? Mm-hmm. I saw when you're watching people, you just notice stuff that you didn't even notice before, right?
Right.
I see when people wear a smaller shirt, versus the big da-da-da. I saw what's my man's name? Philly's favorite bearded rapper.
Oh, Black Thought?
Not Black one, the other.
Freeway.
Freeway. I saw did Freeway have a health issue? I saw Freeway and his arm. I was like, okay, now with us, that flabby arm is skin. For him, I think it must have been a stent, right? Did he have health issues?
Yeah, I think he had some type of health issue. I don't remember what it was, but he's lost a significant amount of weight.
Yeah, I'm just noticing, my man Scarface. I know Scarface had health issues, and the part about it that's crazy is diabetes. So Dave, that's what our earlier conversation, politics, but even health.
Yes.
It's funny. I see the same thing with the health piece. It's like, on one hand, we're, as a community, we're having the conversation about the shot and stuff like that, right?
Right.
But the reality, and I think we're hypersensitive because we're really on it right now. Yeah. But the reality, though, is when everybody's pre-diabetic and pre-hypertensive and overweight and obese, it's hard to have a conversation about health for real.
Yeah.
When you're talking about African-American men over 40, that number, I think it's around 65% have diabetes and high blood pressure, and obese. So as a community, we got to get on that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We got to get on them high blood pressure and diabetes numbers.
Yes.
And then the COVID, forget the COVID, because the reality is, I think if we're honest, a lot of our sickness is caused by something else. And so when you happen to go into the hospital because you had a stroke, they test you and you also had COVID. You know what I mean? So then it's a COVID thing, but it ain't really a COVID thing. It's your health thing.
Yeah. And
so that's the part. And again, we don't really talk about that a lot either, but that's a whole other show. But man,
it really is.
Let's wrap it up. Love you, man. And
love you.
I ain't messing with you, man. I ain't messing with you, man.
Listen, the views and expressions of Dave Anderson are not necessarily those of Marc Clarke Media. I don't even know how we got here. There was a vortex. I did not come on here to talk about politics. I came to talk about business in the metaverse. Listen, listen. Did you get your Oculus yet?
I got it. That's okay. I know. So that's okay. We need to hop on that one too. Hey, so on Friday,
yes,
Olivia Fox is joining me Friday. You got to come on if you can, man.
Oh yes, I will be there.
Olivia Fox Friday, and then tomorrow we're talking. Well, Dave, you're welcome to come on anytime. We're talking about authors. We're talking books. So many people want to self-publish. Dave, again, you please feel free to call in. I'll send you the link. Come in. I'll send you the link. Self-published authors. We're talking about books, the power of books. Everybody has a story to tell, and why not tell it? Why not tell your story? Share your story. Your story can save people's lives. You don't even know it, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So we'll see you tomorrow, and have a good one. Peace out.
He's going to kill me, y'all. As soon as this is over with, he's going to kill me. Oh, yeah. I'm a dead man.
We'll end on the, why not? Let me call Folgers and see if I can get some of that Folgers money.
It's barely morning, and somehow Marc Clarke has to wake up. Of course, Marc has a little help. Only Folgers has the aroma-sealed canister that helps keep that remarkable Folgers aroma fresh, morning after morning. It's a good thing Folgers wakes up Mark, because it's Mark's job to wake up everyone else.
Good morning, everybody. I know I'm awake. Are you?